ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. We welcome you all for this Bhagavatam Swadhyaya self-study program. So today we will be covering Srimad Bhagavatam second canto, fifth chapter, 16th shloka to 22nd shloka. So there are quite a few shlokas. So I take the liberty to cover this in a slightly different manner. So first we will go through the shloka and the translation. And I will not go through the purport of each shloka, but I will give the essence of the purports which I could capture after reading the purports. And from the essence in these shlokas, I have picked up few topics where on which we will double click so that we know the context of the shlokas, the main contents of the purports, and what are the topics, some of the topics that are coming in the purport, which also are talked either in Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam elsewhere, so that we will remember the importance of the context and the series of these shlokas. So I will start. Prabhu, till what time is this thing? I should stop at UAE 11 o'clock or 11:15?
Between 11:15 to 11:30 is fine.
Okay, fine, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So again, thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity to come to this class where we have serious readers, devotees who are studying Bhagavatam in a systematic manner. So just to take to the a bit of a background, the Canto 1 of Srimad Bhagavatam ends with the Parikshit Maharaj's question on what should a person hear, chant, and remember and worship when he's about to die, and when he comes to know that is going to die, and what is the way of perfection for all human beings at that state of mind. That's how the chapter 1 ends, interestingly, with a very, very profound question of Parikshit Maharaj, which is also a situational question. And then the second chapter, and in the first canto itself, there is a mention of what is creation and so on and so forth. In the course of the discussions, we see that. So, as a continuation of that, and also to get an answers to those questions, Shukadev Goswami takes remembers a very profound conversation that happened between Narada and Brahma, or Brahma and Narada. It is also called Brahma Narada Samvada. So the shloka series that we are doing is actually a part of that Brahma Narada Samvada. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, we see that it's very much based on the questions and answers. In the prelude itself, we see, like today, we are saying that in the Canto 1, Parikshit had asked some very profound questions. And also in the first canto, also we see the 6 questions of the great sages, and how the sages in Naimisharanya, how they asked Suta Goswami, and who happened to have heard Srimad Bhagavatam, and Shukadev Goswami was telling Parikshit. So here in Brahma Narada Samvada, Narada is asking questions to Brahma. So it's very interesting to see the questions and the answers that are given, which Shukadeva Goswami is narrating as an answer to the Parikshit, who also inquires Sukadeva Goswami to give him the details about the creation and primary creation, secondary creation, and so on and so forth. So, why this important is why we need to remember the layers of these conversations and questions. Is one thing is in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's also mentioned it's important for us to ask questions and seek answers, because when a person asks a question, there are 3 people who get benefited. First is the person who asks the question, he might get an answer. and the people listening to those answer also will get benefited, and the speaker also will get benefited because that itself may be purifying for him to answer that. And also he may also have to study some other things, and he also knows what he knows and he knows what does he doesn't know. So in that way, it a series of question answers come in Srimad Bhagavatam. And also very importantly, we see that the seeker and the giver, that means the person who answers and the person who seeks the knowledge, their roles also change. In the very first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we have a very detailed conversation between Narada and Vyasa, where Narada is coming to Vyasa in kind of a, jolting him and saying that you have done all that, you are not satisfied because you have not written something about Lord Sri Krishna. And he's giving a lot of reasons, and how Vyasadeva, in a way, has kind of a diverted the people's attention to the Purushartha, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, which are slightly devoid of pure bhakti. So there, Narada is taking a position of a guru to Vyasadeva, and Narada has inspired Vyasadeva to compile Srimad Bhagavatam. And here, Narada is becoming a student of Brahma and asking some things in Srimad Bhagavatam. The same Narada who was told and inspired and given hints of Bhagavatam to Vasudev, here is coming back to Brahma and asking something about what is being told in Srimad Bhagavatam. That is, Srimad Bhagavatam is talking about 10 topics, in which two topics, which are covered mainly in portion in one, portion in two, and in three, that is Sarga, Visarga, primary creation and secondary creation. So the first chapter, that's why it's called creation, and the second chapter is called cosmic manifestation, where several things are there. So, so Narada is asking what are the characteristics of the universe. He knows that Brahma has created this world, so he wants to know what are the characteristics of this universe and the shelter of universe. Who should we take shelter in this universe? And creator of this universe and his details, and what are the ingredients of this universe, and what happens to this universe? Will it stay forever or will it get destructed? And when it gets destructed, what will happen? And how again it will manifest? And what does it depend on? And these are the kinds of questions Narada is asking. But in our point of interest is Narada's questions on whom should we take shelter in this universe? What is the best way to take shelter? And that's why this is known also as a cause of all causes. So that's where this series of questions of Narada is coming to Brahma in a very submissive manner, and Brahma is answering them one by one. And then today's shloka, it also deals with that. It surrounds on the topic of shelter of the universe. What is the shelter of this universe? And Brahma is telling Narada that this is what it is. And because Brahma also knew that Narada was a bit inquisitive to know who is he, why he has created, and what is the objective of this creation, and so on and so forth. And having placed the living entities a place to stay, what they should do. So today's shloka, I'll share the screen and we'll go. What I'll do is I'll go through the shlokas one by one, and then we'll come back to the purports to take the highlights. Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yeah, before I start, is there any doubt or anything that any devotees want to ask till whatever I said till now? Is it clear? The context is clear? Okay. So
Yes.
Brahma Narada Samvada is what we are dealing with. The topic is shelter of the universe. Yeah. Narayana Paro Yogo. Narayana Param Tapaha. Narayana Param Jnanam. Narayana Paragatihi. Here, because the very topic is coming as shelter. One second, Prabhu, let me. So Brahma is telling Narada, all different types of meditation or mysticism or means for realizing Narayana. All austerities are aimed at achieving Narayana. Culture of transcendental knowledge is for getting a glimpse of Narayana, and ultimately salvation is entering the kingdom of Narayana. So here Brahma is talking about the secondary creation. So a very similar shloka also comes in Srimad Bhagavatam. That's also it's also known as Saman Bonam's thing. When rishis, the rishis in the Naimisharanya ask ask Shaunaka Rishi, they basically ask him six questions. I'll share those six questions to set the context why I'm trying to connect. So here Brahma is telling that Narayana is everything. So are you able to see the screen, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So so the first question is, what is absolute ultimate good for the people in general? A similar question at the end of, as I told you, at the end of the first canto, Parikshit Maharaj is also asking, what is good to the people and what should they do? What should they hear, remember, chant, worship at the time of death? And then the second question is, what is the essence of all scriptures? For this, uh, throughout the second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, especially in first canto, second chapter 6 and 7, and continuing this text 28, uh, the essence of this all scriptures is also given. So if we take today's shloka also into consideration, it's almost same, except the word Vasudeva is given as uh, Narayana. Here the Vasudeva is mainly because they're referring to the primary creation, the original creation that is there, from which the secondary creation comes through the three Vishnus, and one of them is middle of those three Vishnus is Narayana, and so the secondary creation aspect is done. The Narayana is also a portion, expansion of the original supreme personality of the Godhead, Krishna. So this Samam Bonam shloka is also often quoted. It's if you read this carefully and we go back to the shloka, you will see these lot of similarities. Vasudeva para Veda, Vasudeva para Makhaha, Vasudeva para Yoga, Vasudeva para Kriya, Vasudeva param jnanam, Vasudeva param tapah, Vasudeva paro dharmo, Vasudeva paragatihi. See, same thing. If we go back to our shloka of today, what he says, Narayana paro yogo, Narayana param tapa, Narayana param jnanam, Narayana paragatihi. There it says Vasudeva paragatihi, ultimate destination. Gati is destination. So here, interestingly, this is told. So we will move to the next shloka. So as I told, we'll complete the shlokas because there are a lot of shlokas are there. Tasyapi drishtur, tasya, tasyapi drishtur, ईशस्य कुटस्था अखिलात्मनः सृज्यं सृजामि श्रितोऽहम् इक्षा इक्षावय अभि चोदितः. So what he's basically telling here is he's talking about creation inspired by him only. That means Brahma is telling that I have not created anything. Inspired by him, I discover what is already created by him, Narayana, under his vision as the all pervading super soul, and I am also created by him only. So this is very important for us to understand. But sometimes we also see in some descriptions of people when they comment, they say that Brahma has created this world. Actually, Brahma was only an instrument in the hands of the Lord, and he is only created by his inspiration. And here Brahma says that he is not even created. He only has discovered what's already created by Narayana. And he says that I am also created by him. So it's very interesting how Srimad Bhagavatam helps us to understand the actual realities, which sometimes we are misled by getting the knowledge from other sources, thinking that Brahma is the creator. Yes, he is the creator. From a stamp point of view, from a certificate point of view, from an authority point of view, yes, he is creator. But that creator is also known as Virinchi. He himself is telling that he is inspired by Lord. And very importantly, he says that I discover what is already created by him. That means Lord has already created. It is a Brahma is just he's empowered Brahma to realize to find what he has discovered. So what it also means is that nothing gets created on its own. It also there is always a hand of the Lord behind that, and it's also significant for us to remember that Brahma is also created by him. That doesn't mean that Brahma is equal to we are all equal to Brahma because we are also created by him. But no, Brahma is a very very high, very elevated, empowered being, a position that's one occupies to get so much of respect and faith from the Lord that He gives responsibility for them to create or discover what's already created. Tasyapi drustur ishasya. So this is the second shloka. The first shloka, basically, Brahma is telling the ultimate gati, ultimate destination is Narayana from a secondary creation point of view. And he's the sacrifice, he's the tapa, he's the yajna, he's the knowledge, and we have to surrender to him because the question is revolving around surrender. Here, because for the inquisitive Narada, who is now not only his son, he's like his student, Brahma's student is asking him. So the teacher himself is telling that no, I'm also created by the Lord. So I'm also a servant. I also take shelter onto the same universe that I've created because it's not my creation, it's God's creation. So here we can see the great quality of Brahma, who, even though he is glorified as Lord Brahma, the creator of this material world, he's so humble to remember his roots. He's so humble to know what he has done and what is done by God. So this itself, we can remember Srila Prabhupada also many times when he was glorified for his success, for the phenomenal amount of thing that he has particularly done from 19 from his age of 69 till he left this material world, constructing so many temples, writing so many books, and so many opening so many centers, attracting so many devotees from different countries. He always used to either give the benefit of that success to his guru and parampara, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and parampara, and sometimes he used to give the benefit to his disciples. He says, because you all have came, you all have supported me, I could do anything, otherwise I'm nothing. So this is the greatness of our parampara, of starting from, you can see here from Brahma onwards, we're not taking any credit. They know whom the credit belongs to and that he's just passing away. So this is the greatness in our thing that we also have to be very feeling fortunate enough because we are in such a great parampara and we respect the disciplic succession in which a guru is also a disciple. A disciple can become a guru only if he is a good disciple. So disciple, guru, disciple, disciple, guru, disciple. That chain continues. So even if you become very learned and even if you're in a stage of telling something to somebody, still we should never ever forget that we are able to do what we are able to do because we have acquired that from some guru, right? Or some gurus, some knowledge base. As long as we remember that and we take shelter of that, just like Narada is asking, whom should we take shelter in this universe? Narayana is the answer, and that Narayana is the one who has inspired Brahma to create this universe for all of us to live, and he himself is in a very mood of surrender. So this shloka and this very excellent word by Narada, I discovered what is already created by him. The very important thing, right? He could say that I was inspired by him and I created it. No, he knows that in an unmanifested form, what he had actually created and shown it to the world has actually existed in an unmanifested form. He has only done the his discovery. So that's why even in the very deep studies also, sometimes we hear the word invent. Invent means that it was not there before, but it was known. But in that process, they always give a differentiation between discovery and invention. Discovery is something which is there, but we could find it. And invention is something which we do not know. But that doesn't mean, even though a person who starts from discovery does that research, right? Research means there is something is there and he's trying to researching it. So he's doing a research. That means he's doing another level of search, a deeper level of search, and then he finds out something, and that's called invention. And typically in the material world, invention is treated as something that we do not know it was created new, and that's why the patents are given, PhDs are given. So that is the general conclusion. And people say that I have invented, or Newton has invented law of attraction, or whatever it is, right? Theory of Albert Einstein has invented theory of relativity. But actually, if you see that they have not invented, they only rediscovered what was there, which is not known to other people. It so happened that they were empowered to become a instrument in the law in through the media of the Lord, to get that glory, to rediscover that and take the position as an inventor. So we also, even in our whatever services that we render, this is what we need to understand. The benefit of the service, the power of the service, the effect of the service is already there. It is just that we have discovered and we have been made an instrument to deliver that service. As long as we remember that, our level of humility, our level of surrender, which is also a main topic of today, will be intact. But if you think that I have created this, I have done this, then we are gone in terms of bhakti. So this is a very important message that it does. And Narada then, Brahma, that shifts, because the whole material world is a creation. And in the process of creation, there are three things that are there, right? Three modes of material nature. Because he's creating a material world. So material world should have a nature. And the three very important elements of that material world is three modes of the material nature. And he talks about that because again, the surrender is also linked with this. I'll try to explain that here. Sattvam rajas tama iti nirgunasya gunastraya sthiti sarga nirodeshu grihita mayaya vibho. So what he's saying is the Supreme Lord is pure, spiritual form, transcendental to all the material qualities, yet for the sake of creation of the material world and its maintenance and annihilation, he accepts through the external energy the material modes of nature called goodness, passion, and ignorance. So just for the sake of creation only, and for the creation of this material world only, and for maintenance and annihilation, he accepts through the external these three modes: goodness, passion, ignorance. Okay. And otherwise he's transcendental. Just because he has created this, it doesn't mean that he is that. So that's the difference between Lord and its creation, right? So here he's clearly telling Narada that first thing is he has discovered what is already discovered by Narayana, who is ultimate destination. And in the process of discovery, the Lord, when he is creating this material world for the sake of material creation, he accepts these modes of nature called goodness, passion, ignorance. So there are two points here. One point is the process of surrender to Narayana, that's ultimate destination. And then how the attitude of Brahma in telling Narada who is he, and actually what is he, what is his relationship in terms of the creation of the material world. He says that he has only just discovered. He has not created, because he himself was created by the Lord. And here he's telling in the so-called, if even anyone thinks that he has created or he was created by the inspiration of the Lord, he says that there are three modes of material nature, which the Lord accepts in to perform this creation and maintenance. It's just like an actor. Actor may come to on the stage by for it through a makeup, right? It doesn't mean that he becomes that. After the show is over, he's back to his normal thing. So that makeup, that acting does not become him. is above and away from that whole thing. But as long as on the stage, for performing that role on the stage, he has to do certain things. So that's where Brahma is clearly taking a position and explaining the three modes of material nature. So there's another double click point today is surrender, Brahma's attitude, and the three modes of material nature. And then he's talking about 19 Karya Karana Kritutve Dravya Jnana Kriya Shraya Bandhanati Nityada Muktam Mayanim Purusham Gunaha. So here he's still continuing the topic of three modes of nature. These three modes of nature being further manifest as matter, knowledge, and activities put the eternally transcendental living entity under the condition of cause and effects and make him responsible for such activities. So Brahma is telling that one of the important ingredients of this material world is these three modes. And these three modes are the ones which make us do something. Sometimes we may think that we are doing something, but actually we are doing under the influence of the three modes of material nature. So if we have time today, we'll also deal on this very important topic of three modes of material nature in a very brief form. But this topic is it comes repeatedly in Srimad Bhagavatam and repeatedly in Bhagavad Gita. And it's important, even if you know something about this topic, or even if you know many things about this topic, still this topic is worth introspecting because it has got a lot of practical significance in a way we conduct our devotional life. So we'll cover that topic also. First is surrender and gati, the destination. What are the ways to find the destination? That's one topic that we'll try to see. Another topic is this topic, the three modes of material nature. And then what else is Lord saying? Brahma saying, Sayesha Bhagaval Lingais, Tribhir Eiter Adhokshaja, Swalakshita Gatir Brahman, Sarvesha Mama Ishvara. So what is he doing? Telling, O Brahmana Narada, the supersede, this transcendental Lord. So he's basically glorifying the student himself. The transcendental Lord is beyond the perception of the material senses of the living entities because the above mentioned three modes of nature. But he is the controller of everyone, including me. Again, Brahma is making his position very clear. He's not forgetting his position. That's a very interesting thing. Even despite getting such a big role already given by the Lord, Brahma is very consciously remembering his position. This basically glorifies Brahma in a way. But here he's addressing Narada as a super seer and as a Brahmana. And he's saying that Lord is beyond perception of the material senses. Just because Lord created this material world, we should not think that he's not beyond it. Because some lines of philosophers or think that because this world is created by material world is created by the Lord, Lord is also a product of the material senses or material elements, which is not true according to our philosophy. So that is very clear here. And this topic, this kind of statements are there in Srimad Bhagavatam. Elsewhere also they repeat, and in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself tells Arjuna that is above all this, and he's the controller of everyone. So this is very interesting. What Krishna has told to Arjuna by himself, here Brahma is telling to Narada through the instructions. So next shloka. So why Narada is telling all this? Just to answer, Brahma is telling all this, but to ensure that Narada, through Narada, he is also telling all the people that the importance of knowing what is this material universe and whom should we surrender in this material world. Kalam karma. Now the topic of kala comes. Once the three modes of material nature comes, and once we know that this material world will be created, maintained, and then manifested. That means there is some three things, the three important things are happening here at a higher level. So when these things happen, like sequence of events, so there is always a sequence of events cannot be only sequence, right? That sequence has to be tied with a time factor. So what is that? What is that factor? That is time. Kalam karma subhavam cha mayeshu maya swaya atman yadrichaya praptam vibhushur upadate. So Lord, who is the controller? Okay, sorry. the Lord, who is the control of all energies, thus creates his own potency, eternal time, the fate of all living entities and their particular nature for which they are created, and he again measures them independently. So he's talking about the Brahma is telling Narada that apart from this material world is there, and the main ingredients of that material world is the three modes of material nature, and material world gets manifested, maintained, and then annihilated. And all this happens under the purview, under the very, very potent mechanism called eternal time. And this topic of Kala is also described in Srimad Bhagavatam. And for us, the very, very beginning students, we can quickly relate to this topic. It comes predominantly in two places in Srimad Bhagavatam, one in the eighth canto and then also in 11th canto, where Lord Himself describes him as Kala. Kala, another name of Kala is also death, because Kala is one thing. Why it's called death is it's time, right? Even if we know the time in a very simple material sense, what's happening to the time? Time is always moving forward, and it is also pushing us forward. Forward means a day to day, every day, every day, every day, every day. Where are we going? All of us, unknowingly, all of us, all living entities, without exception, everybody is moving. Everybody is moving forward. Everybody is moving forward towards what? Towards death, right? That's one thing that is extremely common for all of us, whether we are rich, poor, good, bad, man, woman, mosquito, tiger, elephant, anybody. It's common to all. And that is time. And time is the one which is doing it. And that's why the Lord has put an expiry date on everything. Even non-material things also have an expiry date, because at the time of annihilation, everything goes. It's not that only the living entities have expiry date. Even our mobile phones or computers will have an expiry date. Expiry date means something is it becomes useless, or something's go away from our life also, right? Because of the expiry. We never know. Sometimes it happens very suddenly also. Sometimes there's a warning. Sometimes there is a knowledge that it's going to happen, but everything has to move on towards its end. And the force that is taking all of this to the end is Kala. So that's why, as an aspiring devotees, as the students of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, we should know the potency of this time. Once we know the potency of this time, we we will have a kind of an attitude and a consciousness to respect the time, know the value of the time. Otherwise, the time just flows, and then in the end, we'll repent. So the practitioner devotees, the sadhaka bhaktas, time and again, they keep hearing this word kala, 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 is mainly to emphasize, re-emphasize to themselves that time is very important. And it's a commodity that is decreasing every day. It is one commodity that I cannot increase it. It only decreases. I can increase my money, I can increase my energy, I can increase my family, I can increase my position, but I cannot increase the commodity that I have got as time. Every minute it's ticking. So Brahma is telling Narada the importance of this time, which is a very integral part of creation. And in that process, if we know the time, we know the value of the time, and we know who has created the time, we know the power of time, and we know what time is doing to us, then we respect it and we surrender to it. And we know we tend to ask questions like Parikshit is now asking, because for him is also time is ticking. There was only 1 week before his death. He's saying at the time of death, when the death is coming, what should one hear? Chant, remember, worship. And what is the best thing that can be done by a person at the time of death, right? So Parikshit has asked this question very explicitly. We don't have to ask that question because we know that's going to happen anytime, anywhere, any moment. So that's why those instructions of Shukadev Maharaj to Parikshit through the Brahma Narada Samvada are important. So what are the double click points? What is the Paramgati, that is Narayana? What is the attitude of surrender displayed by Brahma as a very great disciple? He demonstrated that how, as a great guru, how he demonstrated the attitude of a disciple that also leads to surrender and to know what to surrender in this universe. And then he told what are the important elements that are there, three modes, and how they influence in how God creates them for the sake of this material world, and how God is transcendental. That is another three modes is another double click point, and time is another important double click point in this narration. And then we go to the last, and again the kala is again kalat guna vyati व्यतिकरः परिणामः स्वभावतः कर्मणो जन्म महता पुरुषाधिष्ठाध अभूत पुरुषाधिष्ठादितात् अभूत. That means he's basically giving a quantitative thing about the Kala. After the first incarnation, after the incarnation of first Purusha, Karanadosha Vishnu, the Mahatvatva, the principle of material creation takes place, and then time is manifested. And in the course of time, the qualities appear, and nature means three quantitative appearances, they transform into activities. Three qualitative appearances, they transform into activities. So, in brief, Brahma is explaining about the creation, which is also further expanded in the third canto. So, first he says Karanadaksha Vishnu comes, and the Mahatattva comes, and then principles of creation, material creation happens, then time comes, and then the qualities appear, and nature means the three qualitative appearance, and they transform into our activities, that what we do, how we do, why we don't do. Everything is based on those three qualitative appearances in terms of three modes of material nature. So if you look at so any questions so far before I go further? Can someone tell what are those key double click points that we talked about? Just for a pause moment for me.
Parangati Narayana. Narayana is a
Okay.
Param. And the three modes of material nature
Okay.
and the time.
Time. Yes. Very good. Thank you, Prabhu. So basically, so what happens now in 215, 2516, what was the shloka? I'll just read the shloka and then we'll go one by one quickly till the time we have. We'll at least cover two, 3 points. So I'll just share the shloka. Okay, you're able to see, right? Narayana paro yogo, Narayana param tapa, Narayana param jnanam, Narayana para gatihi. So here, Brahma is telling about Narayana Paragati. So in the purport, uh, what Srila Prabhupada has given is that here the talk of the goal, Gati is talked about, right? What is the ultimate destination and direction? So Srila Prabhupada given a description of two types of paths which are used by the devotees or saints or philosophers to get through that get into the direction and get into the destination. Narayana Paragati, Vasudeva Paragati. So Srila Prabhupada basically gives in the purport on two yoga systems. One is Ashtanga Yoga and Sankhya Yoga. So Ashtanga Yoga, as we all know, focus on meditation, concentration, physical posture, internal process, and also to get a detachment from the worldly affairs so that we can focus more on the God. And nowadays we keep hearing this word quite a lot. Many yoga centers are open, not only in India, worldwide. Many very big celebrities openly come and say that they practice yoga. But that yoga which they practice and do it is good. One is for health, and one is for the mental well-being. So that when health and mental well-being are okay, physical health and other aspects of mental well-being are okay, then we'll be able to focus more on what we want to do, and then we can tend to be happy. So that's the overall conclusion. And they don't go beyond that. But in the context of devotion, these yoga practices are ultimately take us to the what is known as bhakti yoga, the yoga of connection with the Lord, and then that will take us to the supreme destination. So Sankhya Yoga is basically an analysis to do a deeper study, to know the eternal truths and what are the temporary realities. In Bhagavad Gita also, Sri Krishna gives Arjuna the very first foundational knowledge. Krishna gives Arjuna and inspires him to fight is Sankhya Yoga. And dualities, talks about dualities. He analyzes what is the difference between body and soul, and then he says fight, and then he elaborates a lot of other things. But the very first knowledge that he gives is this, and Srila Prabhupada also has stressed this, Sankhya Yoga. But this is not the ultimate. Ultimate goal is that both systems are intended to realize the impersonal Brahman, which is effulgence of the Lord, and which is a partial representation of Narayana, which is his person, which is the main character, main personality of this shloka. Brahma is telling Narada, Narayana is the ultimate thing, so we need to go there. And Brahman is described as effulgence emanating from Narayana. It is not the ultimate form of spiritual realization, but some form of spiritual realization. This is what Srila Prabhupada is telling us, and he's also telling what is true liberation, because there also word liberation is more mukta is used in the series of shlokas. This can only happen if one can have a direct association with Narayana, that is Lord, in the spiritual limbs of Vaikuntha. And what is the supreme destination? Narayana Paragati. Narayana is the ultimate goal of all yoga and liberation, as confirmed in the texts of Bhagavad Gita and Matsya Purana. So these are the very important highlight points. So whenever this yoga thing comes, right, we talk about Bhakti Yoga, Sankhya Yoga, and so many things. Uh, so interestingly, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna spends one full chapter on yoga meditation, right? And that's called dhyana yoga. So even though we know just by doing just dhyana without devoid of God, nothing much is going to happen to us for our next life, right? However, we need to know a bit deeper into this because the word yoga is so commonly practiced, and some people think that that is just the ultimate. So one thing is we should not be deluded with those things. We should have that knowledge, at least some level of knowledge on what is this. It's not that we wanted to fully practice it. We know that it's one of the authorized process, but it's not the most recommended process when compared to Bhakti Yoga, which in this canto itself, once again, the topic also comes. In Bhagavad Gita also it comes. In several cantos of Bhagavatam it comes. So we should not be deluded. We should have enough knowledge so that we can tell others what is this and what is our ultimate thing. So about 7 years back, when I was given a seva opportunity to cover the shlokas in the sixth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Dhyana Yoga, the our Bhakti Vriksha members were keen to know about this yoga system, Ashtanga Yoga, because in several places we hear these yoga clubs, yoga studios, not only in India, here also there are now many. Now we have big politicians, leaders of the countries are also adopting this. So it naturally people are getting interested and attracted. Even when we travel abroad, we can see the yogic practice. So I have used a presentation. I'll quickly go through that with the time we have. And if we have, this is because this is one of the key topics. Srila Prabhupada has said these are the two methods, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, and Sankhya Yoga. And of course, these are not ultimate, but we have to know because this is being talked about. If we don't have to know, Krishna wouldn't have told Arjuna all that, and then he told, no, there's a better method to do this. So what it means is, intention is that we also should be aware of it. Again, why if we should be aware of it, it's not that we'll 100% follow it. We should be aware of it to know it's good in that, practice it, to imbibe it, to take it for our to be implemented in our bhakti yoga. Because bhakti yoga is also one of the key elements is in Bhakti Yoga, what? Man manabhav mad bhakto, right? Think of me. Think of me in your mind. So how can I think of Lord and always? Smartavya satatam Vishnu, Vismartavya na jatachit. Always think about me. Don't forget me. How can I do that if I don't manage my mind and intelligence, right? So Jnana Yoga is there as a very much embedded part of Bhakti Yoga. Jnana Yoga need not have to be practiced separately from Bhakti Yoga. This is all we should know. So if we have to practice bhakti yoga, and in that one of the key component is also dhyana, because without concentration we can't do bhakti, right? Either we do seva, either we do archana, either we do arti, either we sing, either we chant. Everywhere dhyana is needed. But in our case, dhyana is a very integral and implicit part of the whole process. So that's why we should know what is this implicit part and parcel of our dhyana. So that's why this presentation is there. So see this presentation in that context of what we can get from these points that are discussed to our bhakti practice. Yeah, it's not that we should become Astayanga yogis or something. So kindly let me know if you are seeing this screen. Can someone tell whether you're seeing the screen
Not it, Prabhuji.
now?
It to component.
Oh, okay, sorry. Maybe I didn't share. Probably. Okay, 1 second, Prabhu. Why? Okay. Sorry, Prabhu. Sorry, I didn't share, Prabhu. I'm sharing it now. You should see in a minute. Now you should see this. So
Yes, Prabhuji.
hopefully.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay. Okay, so far I'm okay. I'm able to express what I'm supposed to tell. Any comments quickly before I jump into this? This is one of the double click point. Any comments, Prabhu? Clear what I'm saying? Any doubts or anything?
Clear.
Okay. So we are talking about one of those double click points or one of the methods of that gati that Shloka is pointing out, right? So normally Ashtanga Yoga has got 8 elements. They say so you can start from anywhere: yama, niyama, dhyana, dharma, dharana, pratyahara, pranayama, asana, niyama. So ultimately samadhi, right? Pranayama is breathing control. Asana is a sitting posture. And the very part of it is dhyana and samadhi is also there. Niyama, regulation, yama, control. So these are the 8 elements. Okay. So we'll dwell into each of those elements, right? 1 second, Prabhu. How do I get out of this one? Yeah, fine. Let's start from Yama. Yama is the external ethics, good relationship with others. So in the process of yoga system is nothing very different from our lives. Yoga system is very much the way the Patanjali and other great people or even the scriptures have dealt with yoga is it's a very much part of our life actually. It's nothing very different from thing. So that's very interesting. It's not alien. It's not a topic that is alien to us. It's a topic very natural bonding to us. So Yama is external ethics. So whenever we talk about external ethics, deals with one's ethical standards and sense of integrity, focusing on our behavior and how we conduct ourselves with others in life. So don't we practice this in devotion life? Yes, we practice, right? Bhakti yoga has this very important factor of being sticking to the ethics. It's a very important thing. We practice ahimsa, truthfulness, uh, asat, not stealing, brahmacharya, and renouncing unnecessary possession. These are all part of a very embedded part of our bhakti yoga, which is also a component of Ashtanga yoga. So, but Ashtanga yoga practicing without bhakti yoga is doesn't yield that many great fruits. But Ashtanga bhakti yoga practice with an understanding of Ashtanga yoga bears very good fruits because it's a very much component of it. First is yama, very general ethics, and next is niyama. Niyama is regulation. We all know self-discipline. We or chanting or sometimes getting up early in the mornings or doing some austerities are niyama. There is some discipline in the life of devotee. Whether it may not, we may not be following, everybody may not be following like in an extremely standard way, but somehow or other, by just coming in touch with devotees, by attending the programs and reading Srila Prabhupada books, somehow or other, some self-imposed discipline comes into your life. Whether we like it or not, it automatically comes, and that comes more rapidly based if we have more faith and if we have more devotee association. So, niyama is to do with self-discipline and spiritual observances. Purity is there, saucha, taking bath, taking externally, taking bath, internally also cleansing, introspection, contentment, santosha, endurance. Sometimes we do endure, we do fasting, we don't take certain food items certain days. Swadhyaya, niyama comes in a self-discipline swadhyaya. So the today's session, for example, is swadhyaya. We are trying to sit together and read Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a part of the Ashtanga Yoga, but are we doing it as an Ashtanga Yoga segment? No, we are doing as a part of Bhakti Yoga, in which Ashtanga Yoga is also a part. And then service to someone bigger, some goal that is bigger. What is the goal that is bigger for us today is a shloka 2, 5, 16, where we have been told that our goal or destination should be Lord, Supreme Person of the Godhead. That's where we have to go. So the niyama helps us to create that self-imposed discipline. One is ethical behavior, external ethics, and internal ethics. And then, of course, in order to do that, we may have to do asana means a seat in Sanskrit. Uh, so, so we should know that Krishna, in the form of super soul, accepts this body as a seat. So this body is viewed as a temple of spirit, the care, which is an important stage of spiritual growth. Through the practice of asanas, we develop the habit of discipline and ability to concentrate, both of which are necessary for meditation. So asana is one very uncommon understanding of asana is a physical sitting posture, but it's something to do. Asana is also something to do with our mind also in a way, how we control our mind, how we make our mind sit in a place when we chant. How do we control our mind to focus on something, to stay at a place and do something, right? So it's both. But normally, asana is typically known to be posture and movement. That is, in this case, in when you do the yoga practice, there has to be very strict regulation on how we sit and how we do it. Because if we don't do that properly, it may have a backfiring effect. Same way, for our thing, for practicing devotion life through asana, it is that we need to seek a comfortable place for us, so that wherever we find comfortable, whatever is comfortable for us to concentrate, we can do that, take that asana. That is what is called creating our own virtual space to do our sadhana. That is also a thing. And pranayama, of course, breathing, control of life force, air is the thing, is also very often used word, generally translated as breath control or the respiratory process, while recognizing the connection between the when we take this swasa, breath, the mind, and the emotions, and the very source of the breath, that is the Lord. So the connecting of these is this. If we just control the breath, mind, and emotions, that is fine. But ultimately, we should know who is giving that breath and what happens if that is not there. See, the Lord Paramatma, the Atma that is there in our soul, in our body, which is engaged into the body, has to leave when this stops, right? And so being conscious about that, because the presence of the Atma along with Paramatma in this body, we are able to breathe, and that's why we are called as living people. It goes away, and that's why we need to control. We need to do the breathing techniques that they do it. And I heard some acharyas telling that if you do properly Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If you chant, and if you chant while hearing, if you give that proper breaks in between while we are chanting, that itself is a pranayama also, because there we are invoking the names of the God. You're taking the breathe in, breathe out, and taking the breathe in and chanting, taking breathe out and chanting. So that is also in a way pranayama. Some people take some time to do that because that also gives them good health benefits. It's very well proven, and it's also very getting very popular nowadays. Nothing wrong in doing. And then pratyahara is withdrawal of senses, detachment from the world. When we take up to the devotion service, somewhere or other, we tend to get detached to many things. And sometimes, even though temporarily we may get attached, but in that attachment also, we know that there is an element of detachment, and the temporary phase goes the detachment automatically happens. But sometimes the temporary phase uh, uh, forces us to be attached because we live in material world. We have to also deal with material things. We also have to be materially knowledgeable, sometimes to do our own work, sometimes to get along with people outside. Uh, so that doesn't mean that we get too much attached, but the layer and the string of detachment should always be there. We should know what to be attached and what should be detached. Even though temporarily sometimes we may be attached to something, because we may be thinking about something, but we should know that that is not the ultimate thing. And that knowledge of Pratyahara in the practice of Ashtanga Yoga, which is an implicit part of Bhakti Yoga, will help us a lot. Will act as a safety net for us not to get too much engrossed in it. For example, I'll tell my own personal example. However, how much I'm trying my best not to get attached to what's happening in India in these elections. So many things are happening. Invariably, I'm dragged. Somebody unknown person, a known person, devotee or non-devotee, classmate or office mate, somebody sends some message about something that's what's happening in India. You open it, you tend to read it, you get attached, you get emotional sometimes. If something is not happening according to what you think is good for the country, and then when you get attached and emotional, you can't keep quiet. You talk, and when some two people are talking, you also go there, add your own points and discuss, debate, and you justify yourself saying that no, I have to at least do this because it's my country. I have some responsibility as a citizen to that country. I can't be just leave it as it is and then only take the benefits of the country when it gives, but I don't bother in its development, in its growth, in its peace, in its happiness. I don't owe, I don't pay taxes, but I still want benefits. That's not right, right? So there is level of attachment and involvement has to be there, but while we doing this, we should know that it has to be temporary. We should not get too much attached to that, and that's where the principle of pratyahara comes. Pratyahara means you should know that we have to detach. The time is come to detach. Best example is the tortoise. When it wants, it comes out. Otherwise, it just detaches. So as long as this concept of detachment is there in our consciousness, then we are doing the pratyahara. Otherwise, we'll get lost. So by remembering this is very important. Dharana is concentration, studying from a concept of I can't do it to that I can do it, dealing with distractions in mind. In Bhagavad Gita, also, Sri Krishna is telling, Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandana. He says focus. Focus is very important. Even in our material studies, they talk about focus, right? And the practice of concentration, which precedes meditation, we learn how to slow down and thinking process and concentrate. Example, a specific energetic center in the body, image of a deity, silent repetition of a sound, that Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Remembering Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela of the Lord, any of these things, combination of that, remembering and appreciating devotees, that also improves our dharana, concentration, or enthusiasm to serve. So dharana is a very important point of that Ashtanga Yoga. And meditation. Dhyana is meditation. It's mindless attention, steady mind, mindless attention. Is unattached. And we have two words, right? Unattached and detached. One is detached and one is unattached. It's an uninterrupted flow of concentration. So dharana or dhyana is a very important practice. So there's one point at attention. The great acharyas have, chant while they were chanting, they were having one point at attention. Here's a picture, interesting picture of someone is chanting and there's a tiger that is sitting, but he's not bothered about it. Yeah, and it is just chanting because he's fully concentrating on that. So dhyana is also important. Meditation, concentration is there. And samadhi is ultimate thing. So in the shloka, smartavya satatam Vishnu, vismartavya na jatachit. Smartavya satatam Vishnu, always remembering the Lord, is meditation, dhyana. Vismartavya na jatachit. Never forget the name of Vishnu, that is samadhi. So always remembering one thing, never forgetting one thing. It's the two levels, right, of our dedication and connection to the Lord. So samadhi is ultimate thing. People who are in great ecstasy, always remembering the Lord. Smartavya satamishna, vismartavya na jatachit, sarve vidhi nishedasyor, etayor, eva kinkaraha. All the other rules and regulations are subservient to these two very important aspects that is coming in. this thing. So there are different kinds of meditation. I'll stop here. So why we have done this? So if you see here, Narayana Paro Yogo, Narayana Param Tapa, Narayana Param Jnanam, Narayana Parakatihi. So you got it right. So Gatihi. So taking the cue from the word Narayana Parakatihi, Srila Prabhupada in the purport is giving this. In meditation, there are two systems of yoga, namely Ashtanga Yoga and Sankhya Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga is practiced in concentrating the mind, realizing oneself from all engagements by the regulative process of meditation, concentration, sitting posture, blocking the movements, internal circulation, air, etc. So this is why I have taken this topic of double clicking on Ashtanga Yoga. I hope you would have found it useful. If you have already know it, please consider it as a revision. I always keep this presentation on for me to remember those 8 steps of meditation are very important. And the very fact that they're very implicitly included in Bhakti Yoga gives me a lot of happiness when I practice Bhakti Yoga and I don't get attracted only to the Ashtanga Yoga with only body consciousness. That's right. And so next topic that he's giving is of course on the humility. And the next topic that Brahma is talking about is the 3 modes of material nature, right? So I will go to the other topic of 3 modes of material nature. Just give me, I'll pull up one slide. So the before I tell 3 modes is also a very important topic. It is one of my favorite topics also personally, because understanding that this material world is created by the Lord for us to live, and one of the key elements of that material world is are the 3 modes of material nature: mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance, right? These, the very multitude, multi-dimensional combinations of which is making our overall personality. And they're not constant. They're continuously changing and the combinations of it is changing. And because of the combinations, the manifestation of what we do, how we think, what we act in a different situations happens, right? And this is overall. So if there are any some consistent patterns that emerge as we grow along in our life, that makes up our personality. We can say by seeing a person, we can say, oh, he's a very sattvic person, he's very good. Or somebody may say he's very aggressive. Because this is a combination of these 3 things which are over the period of years have solidified and they're not changing that much, even though there may be some small here and there is there. And that's why we say, okay, Panchatattva Das is there. He's a very humble person. He's always smiling. He's always pays respect to others when he meets. He's a very sattvic person. That's how I make up his mind. So when I think about him, actually what I'm trying to tell is an effect of the combination of how 3 modes of nature are working in him as I perceive it, right? So 3 modes are very important. That's why if you understand the 3 modes, in many points in our life, we will understand why we are behaving like this at a particular situation in life and why we are behaving like this in constantly in all the situations in life, why others are behaving like this. This is very important, right? Not only in our life as satsang, in satsang, where we have to meet different kinds of people in different walks of people, different economic status, different languages, different ways, and then we have to work around. In just the same way in the office also, different people, different cultural language. So I think that we may say something uh, may be very offensive to some cultures, right? Maybe for them it's very not acceptable. Like I sometimes battle with some cultural people. Think that if something happens in the office, and I tend to apologize very fast, very quickly. 'Cause I know if even there's a mistake, small mistake, is that somehow it doesn't make me too much to think to say sorry. And I even write that saying that this is a mistake that you made. So sometimes the people around me or my senior management gets very upset with me, saying that why did you do that? It creates a big problem. They'll weaponize your goodness. They'll weaponize your apology, and it creates a big problem to us. You're weak. you're not very strong, and so many so things. So over the period of time, I try to, manage this in the office, but it still baffles me. But why we do it? Why I do it? Because it's my nature that is driven, has a very, very strong influence in satsang, where I also spend some time, right? So I'm not debating whether we should apologize or not. That's not the question. Our behavior and how we react to other things do it. So, but if we know why we are behaving like this in a certain situation, why others are behaving, our dealings with others will understand. So, in the same case of apologies, the people who are fully opposing me, that I should not apologize even if I make a mistake, I know that they're driven by more of passion and some level of ignorance. I don't have to determine which mode is dominating me. That's an irrelevant issue here. So once I know that I'm dealing with mode of passion people, then I modulate myself and how I behave and how I approach to them to move things forward. If I don't do that, I go in a confrontational manner, or I'll go into a shell that'll have an impact on my career, impact on my relationship, and whole thing. And because of that, I become not successful. I'll suffer and I'll make others suffer. So three modes of mental nature is important, and we should always know these things are always acting in different combinations. So more and more we know, and more we get knowledge, and more we are conscious that we are forcefully doing something because of this. But as a very natural uh, people, where a very pure consciousness in the form of Paramatma is sitting in us, which has got a very direct connection with Jivatma, we are not supposed to do anything wrong, actually. But most of the things that we do are wrong. But there is something that is coming there which is causing these issues. So more and more we know, and more we control this, more and more our chances are there where we can succeed in relationships, in our dealings. So that's why this topic is very important. And I'll give you two examples of this. In Bhagavad Gita, there are 700 shlokas. Okay. 70 plus shlokas in Bhagavad Gita only deal with this one topic called three modes of material nature. And it comes in different chapters. Almost 10% of such a profound philosophical discussion between Krishna and Arjuna, where Krishna is inspiring Arjuna to fight and is giving Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Stanga Yoga, so many yogas he's dealing. And that so many other topics are there, but this one topic has 70 shlokas. So that means there is something right in this. So we need to do it. And unfortunately, people who do not get in touch with Bhagavatam, the scriptures like Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita or any other great scriptures of other religions also, they'll miss the chance of understanding the importance of it, and which is also cause to some extent cause of their suffering. So if we understand this, even though we may suffer, the pain of that suffering can be relieved a bit if we know why we are suffering. And these three modes of mental nature will give us that clue. So, and this another one other good example is if you look at Ramayana also, Ramayana is full of people and personalities the way Valmiki has evolved Ramayana. Lot of pluralism. There are so many personalities that come, and each takes their own decision, and then the character evolves around that. Valmiki doesn't say throughout Ramayana that who is good or who is bad. He's basically presenting the people, personalities, situations, and the decisions they take. Like Dasharatha, father of Rama, has got multiple wives, whereas Rama declares that I don't have only one wife. And the greatest servant of Rama, Hanuman, says, I don't marry, right? And when Sita Devi marries and comes from Mithila to Ayodhya, she comes alone and she doesn't get influenced by any of her people in parent. Whereas even Dasharatha Maharaj, Kaikeyi, some people come from their side and do interesting things in there. And everybody is putting their perspective. And there are so many, Ramayana is full of situations. There is a situation, you are present, the personality is present, and he makes a decision. And those decisions sometimes similar situations, seemingly similar situation, but decision is different. Because that personality is there, and the time in which that personality acts differ. It's not that Rama is influenced by three modes of material nature. I'm not saying that. But Valmiki is presenting to us what is the importance of this personality. Our life is nothing but situation. And in each of these situations, we are making decisions and we are forced to make decisions. It's not that we have only one situation in life. Every situation changes, right? And you have to make decisions. That's how the life. And more, we get more success in life if we take more good decisions in many of the situations. If we make wrong decisions in many situations, then the chance of failure are more. So that builds our personality. But what builds our personality? What makes us to take a decision more right or more correctly is the degree to which we control our three modes of material nature. And this is what Ramayana is also telling. Is nothing but personalities, situations, and the decisions they make. And the decisions they make. What decision Rama made, where Ravana made, and what is the consequence of it? What decision that Rama made, and what decision Dasharatha made in a situations, and how that their personalities evolved is a very interesting thing we can observe in Ramayana. So that's why in Bhagavad Gita also this topic is so well described. And here also Brahma is telling Narada very obediently, even in taking the position of a guru. So in this material world, there's one important thing so that the three modes. Please understand that. So today we'll quickly look at it. Thanks to the great devotees of ISKCON, there is a study course. Are you able to see this, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. We
Yeah.
can see.
So there's a very good temple of London Manor. You must have all heard. Very, very famous temple of ISKCON, a manor that was donated by George Harrison. There's a very thriving, wonderful ISKCON center there. It's been there for the last 50 years. They have one educational course. The educational course is called Three Books Are Enough. So the main topics, the most of the Srila Prabhupada books, concept and contents are condensed into course, and there's a course is available. And we were lucky to give this course, conduct this course in Damodar Desh several years before, in when we were doing programs in Sindhi ceremonial hall. And in that three books, in one book, in one chapter, three modes of material nature is there. And there they're very beautifully compiled how in Bhagavad Gita alone, Krishna is telling Arjuna about different modes of nature and what are the main features. If you take in a feature, we can know how a person in the mode of ignorance, passion, and goodness behave. And when if you read this chart, I will post it to Subal Prabhu. You can post it in your group. You can use this to do a very self-evaluation on where you are in a very high manner. And very important thing in this chart is very, very big value addition. Bhagavad Gita, by and large, deals with ignorance, passion, and goodness, right? Just like Brahma is also telling, material world is created this. But aspiring devotees want to know more than that, because Srimad Bhagavatam is talking about pure devotional service. And there, that's why pure goodness is also discussed. So along with this, they also given the column of pure goodness, which is a wonderful value add from or on top of what is told in Bhagavad Gita. For example, general characteristics of the ignorance person is foolish, madness, illusion, inertia, indolence, passion, unlimited desire, goodness, relative purity, unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service to the God. This is Savai Pumsham Paro Dharmo Eto Bhaktira Dokshade Ahituki Apratiyata Ya Atma Supratitat. So destination after death for Shuddha Sattva goes to the Lord Vaikuntha. This is what today's shloka is covering, right? 2, 5, 16. Narayana Paragati, Vasudeva Paragati. This is the definition in the super goodness. And among the demigods and sages, it goes to heavenly planets. Actually, in one of the questions is of the sages in Namisharanya Swanaka Rishi is asked, what is the question is I don't remember verbatim, but why does Krishna come? Why does he come and do the pastimes, right? So one of the there are many shlokas as an answer to that. One shloka is is that Krishna comes to this world to reclaim the people who are in the mode of goodness. So if we follow this column alone in all these aspects of general characteristics or determining our destination, objects of worship, the food we take, the sacrifices we make, the austerity we do, and then charity that we make, renunciation, knowledge that we want to acquire, actions that we want to perform, and what kind of a worker are we, and what do we want to understand, what we don't want to understand, what is the level of our determination, what is happiness, what does it mean to us, what are the times of the day that we like, what are the kind of locations that we want to stay, Dubai, India, whatever, America, and within that, where, what are the animals that we like and what we want to do, and what are the trees and plants that we try to like and make use of it. So these are so many characters: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, or some 20. 20 and our main features are there. And so 4, 20 and odd 80, 80, 80. It's an Excel sheet of 80 cells. But the cells that we need to pick up are mode of goodness or sometimes mode of. So if we know, constantly evaluate ourselves, where are we, in which quadrants that we are moving in our life throughout the day, throughout our life, in dealing with ourselves, our own selves, dealing with others, and how can I come from this to this to this, or how can I go from this to this, and how can I remain in this, how, at what points in time I have to remain in this. Sometimes this is also needed in the material world, unfortunately or fortunately. But what is that? How I should be detached from that, and how do I mix that? Red, yellow, blue, that kind of a colors, and these are mixing like those colors and giving multiple millions and millions of combination of thoughts that is driving me to think what I am doing. If I can control that, in the Astanga process also is there, right? Controlling the mind. Controlling the mind can only happen if we know, we have the knowledge of this, and constantly remind ourselves what are the characteristics, what are the features, and what are the characteristics of things in Sattvaguna, when in different aspects of 20 aspects that Bhagavad Gita has dealt. So it's a very important thing. This thing is just this column is a value add, as I told. A lot of things are captured from Bhagavatam, but these first three columns here are pure capture from Bhagavad Gita. So they are there in different places in Bhagavad Gita. But when we read Bhagavad Gita, what happens is we may not get this kind of a picture, this very nice picture. So I'm eternally grateful to those authors of this book who has given this wonderful thing, which I use it many, many times when I want to self introspect myself. And sometimes we also know that we are not in mode of goodness, but we are in pure ignorance. And even if there is one column that I have to add myself to the left, I will add Shuddha ignorance. Shuddha Sattva to Shuddha ignorance. I may sometimes be driven into depths of ignorance, that is Shuddha ignorance. That is very pure form of ignorance. You know, it's not Tamagana, it's very pure form of Tamagana. That we get dragged into that. So how do we come out? How do we? So it's like knowing these three modes of material nature also. One good example that we can give. Are there any material science engineers here? Metallurgists, metallurgists? Because I'm going to talk something in their subject which I don't know much. So, but I work in an aluminum industry. So we when pure aluminum is produced, it's aluminum oxide. It goes to electrolysis process. Aluminum comes and oxygen mixes with the carbon, which is the anode in the electrolytic process. Sent out carbon as sent out as an emission. And aluminum comes. But in the pure form of aluminum, it may not be used much. It cannot be used much. But that same aluminum has to be used in many places, right? If that aluminum which I'm making a product from that, if I want to use it in a building construction material, so sometimes in the building construction we can have to make such an aluminum where it can bend, it can stretch a bit, it can bend, it can twist, right? But same Same aluminum, if I want to use it in an automobile industry, it has to be very hard. Suppose if it has to be used in wheels, for example, in our company, the most of the products that we sell it to the automotive industry in Europe and Japan and America, where they are used in a very highly branded cars like Rolls Royce and Mercedes, BMWs, big, very, very cars. So there they want very strong thing. But by aluminum by itself, when it's molted, it's not very strong. What makes it strong is that they add alloys. So one sort of alloys, if they add, the same metal will become very strong. Some alloys, if we add, it becomes brittle. In some industries, we may need the brittle kind of a metal. And if I add some different alloys, it becomes very malleable, very, you can twist and twist. Same metal, it's like same way, our Atma is very pure in its consciousness. But with the way we add Tamoguna, Rajoguna, Sattoguna, that product comes. And here it's metal, every day it is produced, but in our body, in our mind, it's always constant battle is there. Each one is competing to overpower others. So if you know this, that in our mind, this is acting on this, so what should I do so that my Sattva Guna dominates Rajoguna and Tamoguna? What should I do to do my fashion to dominate if I want that to be? If we know that thing, if you know those alloys of three modes of material nature, so if you put too much of tamoguna, like breaking, too much of passion, probably molding. But if you put too much of goodness, it becomes very strong in bhakti. Then I have full control on my mind and I can know what I'm doing. I know what decisions I'm making, and I'm very confident that I'm making the proper decision because unknowingly that I'm being driven by mode of goodness, where the probability of making a right decision is very high. So that's why this is very important topic. As I told, 10% of Bhagavad Gita is touching this very important topic. So these are the two things that there are two other topics are there. One is the Mahat Tattva is also covered today, and Kala is the time factor also done. Since we don't have time, but we remember that these are the four things that are discussed. Five topics, four important things. We discussed about Gati, Narayana, and Astanga Yoga, Sankhya Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. So today we didn't deal with Bhakti Yoga, but we said by doing Bhakti Yoga practices that we are already know, Manmana, Bhavat Bhakto, Majjajimam, Namaskuru, Vasudeva, Paraveda, Vasudeva, Paramaka. So like today's shloka also, so Narayana is glorified. If you know that, whatever we do, Ashtanga Yoga is part of that, which is also a medium to move our destination. Then Brahma talked about to Narada. Brahma exhibited his fantastic humility and surrender to the Lord, saying that I did not even do it. I just discovered, and even I was created by the Lord. So that's a super claim by super thing, and we should always remember in our services that we render in our devotional practices, because here the topic is how do we take shelter, whom do we take shelter for this? And if we have that attitude that we are doing, we are getting, we are talking, we are having this knowledge, we are practicing only and only because of somebody's mercy. So we are always in the mood of disciple. And as long as we are in the mood of the discipleship, as long as our quality of our discipleship is intact, just like in our parampara, the greatest strength of our parampara, as I told, is that every guru is also disciple, and every guru remembers that he's disciple. He remembers not more that he's disciple than he remembers that he's guru. Srila Prabhupada always remembered his guru. So more we remember that we are disciple of somebody, more that we submissively inquire, like Narada inquiring from Brahma. And as I told in the beginning, it is Narada himself who has told to Vyasa and told him that you have to write Bhagavatam and Bhagavatam should consider this. But that same Narada, here in the second canto, first canto is doing that, and second canto is coming and sitting in front of Brahma and saying, Sir, please tell me this, please tell me that, please tell me this. What is creation? What is secondary creation? That is the greatness of Bhagavad. The great people like Lord Shiva also comes in many places as guru and as a student. The guru student thing is so much good. And here in the second shloka, the 2.5.17, we get a very nice perception of Brahma, and our respect to Brahma should increase manyfold for he demonstrating live the attitude. And third, Brahma told Narada that in this material world is created, and these three modes are and elements of that, and you need to understand kind of a indication. And this three modes topic is dealt in many places in Bhagavatam, and Bhagavad Gita is what is told. And I showed you that sheet, and I'll send it, and I'll request each one of you to take some time to go through the sheet and crisscross connect and see which are your own dominant features are there. And based on that sheet, they also created an Excel game called Vedic Personality Index. That is also there with me. I'll talk to Subal Prabhu and see how we can play that game online here at some point in time. But before that game comes to you, you can yourself see by characters, by features, by characteristics, where are you, and try to your own self introspect and see how you can increase sattva guna. If you're already in sattva guna or Shuddha sattva, it's just a revision. But if you are not, then it's a good time to think. Because I told you that I'm not sometimes in tamoguna, I'm in the Suddha tamoguna. So these kind of sheets are very important for people like us, people like me, to self-introspect and to move forward into life, so that more and more we get knowledge, and more we are conscious about our three modes of material nature, better will be our devotional journey. So these three modes we have talked, and two double click points that we didn't talk much are the Mahatattva. He said the creation, the Vishnu, Karanadaksha Vishnu, then Mahatattva, then the material element, then the time and the material elements in the nature come, that sequence I've given. The Mahatattva is also a very nice topic that's also dealt to some extent very clearly through Srila Prabhupada purports in the seventh chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and in the 16th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 16th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. And we also didn't do much on time, but we dealt with time, saying that time is one thing which is absolutely unconditionally, irrevocably common to all of us, and tying together all of us is drawing us towards the end, that is the expiry date. So more we end, it is directly a creation of God, controlled by God, and it's eternal. So if we know this, we suddenly come to know the value of time, and then we utilized. And during we also come to discussed about Astanga Yoga process, Dharana, attachment, detachment, and we also discussed about the practical limitations about the detachment. How I gave my own example of why I'm getting attached to what is happening in terms of Indian election scene. Sometimes I feel that I should not, but sometimes I feel I should. So this is a mental battle that keeps happening. But these are all the intersection and points between us. So I conclude here. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity and patiently your hearing. I hope it was something is useful to you. I will send the Astanga Yoga presentation and also the three modes of sheets to Subal Prabhu. I also personally thank him for giving me this opportunity and place in this very honest or very, very august gathering of people who are reading Srimad Bhagavatam. So, because if you are in the mode of reading Srimad Bhagavatam, that means uh, it's great. So yeah, the discussions about time are also given in 11th chapter, as I told in Bhagavad Gita, and then also and third canto also there are given third canto chapter 10 and 11 also time factors given. So big thanks to you. If you have time, we can take questions. I'll leave it to the organizers to decide whether we should have questions, answers, or anything. Hare Krishna. Thanks a lot. And wish you all a very happy weekend ahead, and a week ahead. And remember the time factor. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Thanks to all devotees. Have a great day.